Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Board Game Breakfast. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Chris Yee.
We are done with 1/3 of the year 2023.
Wow.
Go on, get.
A whole third.
You needed something to throw that for. That was what it was. Go on, get. The year, of course, is going very quickly. But hey, I'm glad to be back in the studio, and that's good because, oh my word, this is like a normal week.
It is a normal
It
week,
is,
Thomas.
finally.
Except for the fact that you're going to spill all the tea about Gamma.
And the van.
Oh.
And the van.
Oh.
That's tomorrow, I think. We'll have the video about the van. So, we want to tell you, since we're in May, so it's May 1st, so 2 months from now, June, July, Dice Tower East is starting. There is 109 tickets left. They're going quickly, as is the hotel rooms. Just as a heads up, so if you're like, I don't know yet if I'm going to get a hotel room in Orlando during the July 4th weekend, they will fill up. They will all be gone. It's that...
That's fair.
Americans tend to celebrate that. I haven't celebrated July 4th at home since, well, the 2 years. Actually, the 2 years at 2020 and 2021.
Yeah, 2021, I remember we did something here.
We did. We shot off fireworks.
Yeah, and you said, and we'll never do that again.
Yep.
That's right, because we do Dice Tower East, which is fantastic. Dice Tower East is sponsored by All Play and Home... Help me out here.
House Family.
House Family Homestead.
Homestead.
Which has really delicious freeze-dried candy, which I could use some right now.
Skittles.
You know what? They made freeze-dried lemon heads. So,
Yeah.
House Family Homestead, I want you to make grape heads. I forgot grape heads existed.
I didn't know they existed. They're just grape-flavored candies.
And they're better than lemon heads.
Really?
Yeah, I found that they existed by getting them with some tickets I got at an arcade that you have nothing else to spend on.
Are they like Jolly Rancher style grape? Like, is that...
No candy is like Jolly Rancher grape, I think.
Yeah.
That's a unique grape flavor. They also have apple heads.
That I would try.
If they had mango
definitely
heads,
try.
I would be all in.
Maybe there is such a thing as mango heads.
If there is chat, let me know, and I will go find some post-haste.
Anywho, so that's what's going on. Don't check out Dice Tower East. And, of course, Dice Tower Cruise tickets are open, so lots of opportunities. I'm really in the mood to go on the cruise right now. I talked about the cruise all week long to different people, and many people had told me they had never been on a cruise before, and I was like, you got to try. It's such a... Forget Dice Tower at all, just a cruise in general. And one of our cruise goers has been posting a blog of their cruise. It's kind of late. It's like 5 months later, but it makes me want to go on it again. And I will in
January?
Well, next year. So
Yeah.
anyhow, let's get started with this show. Here we go.
Hi, it's Tarrant.
And Stella from Maple University and the Dice Tower. Vivarium, one of the newer released from Studio H.
Indeed, this is a card collecting, set collecting sort of game. There's a board with a 4x4 grid of cards on it. They'll be in 3 different types, some that you're set collecting, some that will combo with the others. And you use these domino pieces to indicate the coordinates from which you'll draft the cards.
Yeah, reminds me of Meadows. And in Meadows, you use your own tokens that you do that, but this is kind of like you draft that to get it. So column 1 and row 1, for example, or something like that. How you get the cards, and then you set collect and then gain the points.
Yes.
Similar to Meadows, but I feel like Meadows is tighter than this one.
Yeah, this is not a very tight game.
If you think that Meadow is something for you and then you want something that is not too punishing.
Yeah, on your turn you have to swap one domino with the one that's left in the middle, and then you can make any combination of coordinates from the 4 numbers that you have. It means you've always got a lot of choice. I very rarely found I was missing the choice that I wanted.
So probably like for family games, it's much friendlier game. It's not much like sort of friendlier game than Meadows. So that's Vivarium. Check it out if you like that sort of game. And thanks for watching. Bye.
Happy breakfast, everyone. Today I'm here to tell you if you've got a party that needs a party game, Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza could be a brilliant one for you. And yes, I didn't even need to look at the box, because you say that so many times in the game that it becomes drilled into your head. The way this snap-ish sort of game works, so snapping onto a deck of cards, is you play a card from your deck and say taco. The next person plays a card cat, goat, cheese, pizza, and so on until one of two things happens. Either the card you play matches the word, so you play a taco when you say taco and you slap your hand down and everyone does quite quickly, or one of the three special creatures comes out, like a narwhal where you have to do that, a gorilla where you have to do that, or the last one, which is a groundhog. I had to work out what that was, and you had to hit the table and put your hand down. And like many games like this, the last person around the table to slap their hand down gets that pile in the middle. The twist is that it's not just getting rid of your cards that wins you the game, you then need to actually win one of those hand slaps to go out. And it's comical fun as people see a narwhal and start doing a gorilla and go, I've done the wrong thing, but someone else hasn't even noticed, and then they start, and it's a panic, a rush. It's kind of stupid, great sort of fun. That is taco, cat, goat, cheese, pizza. There's like 500 versions of this, from I'm a Celebrity to FIFA World Cup. Check it out if you're looking for a fun sort of slappy party game, and enjoy the rest of your breakfast.
All right. Let me straighten my tie.
You are proving that you are not tired at all,
Are you
Tom.
awake?
I've been up since 5. Anyhow, today's game from 30 years ago is Tutankhamun.
Oh, that cover. Tom.
Or as Steve Martin would say, King Tut. This is designed by Reiner Knizia. The art is John Kovalik, who did Munchkin art and Dork Tower. He did a lot of Apple's out-of-the-box publishing. This was originally from out-of-the-box publishing. It was just remade last year from 25th Century, who has remade everything.
Wait, Out of the Box is the Apples company, right?
That's correct.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
They had a lot of good games back in the day. This is one of the first ones I bought when I was getting into the hobby. I was like, oh, this one looks good. And this Reiner Knizia guy, I heard his name from other places. This is the first game in what is popularly known all over the world as the Ratchet series of games, or Ratchet Mechanism, as everyone says. Look it up.
All right.
Which is you can move as far as you want, but you can't go back. But this is that distilled to a single game. That's the whole game.
All
The
right.
game is move as far as you want. You take a tile, and then it's the next person's turn. And taking these tiles will get you points. When all the tiles of a set are gone, whoever has the most scores points, blah, blah, blah.
Why haven't I played this? It sounds great.
It really is good. I mean, there's 15 sets of tiles, and when the last set's taken, it's gone. And there's also some tiebreaker tiles. You can buy a tile from someone else, which is also called stealing. And then in the new version, they added a bunch of special power tiles, which are fine. The new version looks better, but is not particularly easy to see.
I kind of got that vibe from the
Okay,
cover.
like the iconography's bad?
Yeah,
or
graphic
the
design, the
coloring?
tiles look very similar to each other. They look nice, but they look similar, which means it is harder to distinguish them apart from each other. Anyway, I like this one. I gave it a 7.
Is it in the library?
It is.
The new
You're
edition.
Is it on shelf 2?
You are the librarian.
I would guess it's on shelf 2.
It's a
All
smaller
right.
box.
No,
It
it's a
wouldn't be.
smaller
Oh, it
box.
is a smaller box?
It also has a playmat in our library.
Oh.
This is what the new one looks like. I also gave this one a 7. I'm consistent.
Yeah. Say what you will about you. You're tired. You're groggy. Unenergetic.
Apparently you
Far
can't
from
see
entertaining.
tiles.
So, yes. Anyway, that is Tutankhamun. If you find a copy of this, I would recommend picking up it. But, I mean, realize you're getting a nice, light, simple game. One of Knizia's classics where it's like one mechanism. BGG gives it a weight of 1.75, which, if I'm reading some people's comments, means it's a party game. Anyhow, that's our review from 30 years ago. our game.
Hello, Proti here, your Romanian content creator, and today I will continue my series where I will talk about a specific part of a game, and today we will talk about Final Girl. Final Girl is a solo game, a nice strategic solo game where you have a lot of content. For sure you have the core box, which you cannot play the game if you have just the core box, and then you have those film boxes, which every film box is bringing a new location and a villain that you have to fight. The production is nice. The game is really interesting. I really like it. It's card driven. Your actions are cards that you play, and afterwards you can purchase for the next round with time other cards that you then play in your next round. We will not go in detail now how the game is played, but it's interesting. A lot of things are happening, and I wanted to discuss about cards. What you have to do for sure is to be the one that is killing the let's say the evil person, or then you win the game, and if you die then you lose the game for sure. But I wanted to discuss about a card that you can purchase. It's not in the starting deck, so to say, and it's quite easy card that I find really good and flexible in this type of a game, and I talk here about Close Call. Close Call is giving you the opportunity to re-roll one die or re-roll all the dice if you're paying some time, and I find it really important to have constantly this card, and it's not really expensive, in your hand, so that you can make this reroll, because every card that you play you make a horror roll, and depending on the successes that action you have a better or a weaker action regarding the card that you played. And then if it's, let's say, if you have it dependent on the rolls, the action and so on, I always find good mitigation in those dice rolls, and this card, this Close Call card, is giving you the opportunity to mitigate those dice rolls, and that's why it's a nice card. I really appreciate that it's present in the game, and that's why I wanted to talk shortly about it today. Have a nice breakfast.
This is a segment where we take a look at a board game based on an IP, and I tell you if the IP and the mechanisms match. Today we're looking at Breaking Bad, the board game. One of the first things you're going to do in the game is figure out who you want to be. Everybody's going to pick a character. Labs that they will have during the game. Once all of your labs are eliminated, you cannot win, and that's what the DEA is trying to do. They're trying to eliminate all of the labs that are going to be here, and then the criminal factions are going to sell a number of blue sky based on the player count. Now, when you play cards, sometimes they're going to have requirements up here in the top left that you would have to meet, either danger value or have enough blue sky in order to meet that. So you will play these cards, initiate gunfight or counterattacker's gunfight. A lot of these are take that cards or block. The last action you can take is you could sell. So if you want to sell one, you take one off here and you put it into your stash, and this is where you're going to be accumulating your victory points to win the game. As you likely saw from the overview, Breaking Bad is one of the worst board game adaptations of a television series since Happy Days the board game. I don't think I'd ever played a game that could be worse than Mork and Mindy, but here I said. This is a collection of stills and variable powers and a little bit of asymmetrical play mixed in with take that, player elimination, and let's lose a turn. These are things that are just bizarre in the world of Breaking Bad. I would have rather seen some kind of game like The Godfather from CMON or the new Scarface 1920, just something that gave us a little bit something different that would bring us into the universe. The only thing bringing you into the universe here is that I guess you're making these drugs, you have the stills from the show, but I never feel like I'm in this dirty, gritty universe at all. Nothing brings me into it that I'm slapping it down and fighting. I guess a little bit. The feds are trying to track you down and arrest you. I guess that plays into a little bit. But really, I am stretching here. There isn't a lot about the mechanisms. There isn't a lot about the IP that comes through those mechanisms. And I would say it's a very, very bad game on top of that. This is one to watch out for. This is a stink fest.
The seat's too low.
All right.
You need that part of the car.
All right, well, they're having an argument about speedometers. Let's talk about what's coming from the Dice Tower this week. So a lot, that's for sure. Some previews have already gone up on the Dice Tower. I'm doing Q&A today. Z is doing in 46 minutes. We'll be doing What's Happening. I don't know what game. Come and find out. John DeClaire is joining me and Eric later today for the 25th episode of At the Table. It does not feel like we've done 25 times.
25.
Yeah. I think we're like to a year now. It's been a year. It's been a year.
Let's
see what else we got. Tomorrow we're doing a live play of Seismic. So that'd be interesting. I'm certainly wanting to check that out. Pass the Party Food sounds like an amazing, high-profile Euro game that you guys will be reviewing.
It's part of the Phil Walker Harding Joey line of games. Kids.
It's just that name. Now that you say that, I'm getting that. But that name by itself, I've been like, come up with a different name. Pass the Party Food.
It is for like 4 or 5 year olds.
But you wouldn't even say that at a party.
Sure.
The only time you need to say pass the party food is if you're in an area where there is both party food and non-party
And
food.
fine dining. Yeah. Pass the the tri-tip or the fairy bread. Grr.
Choices.
So like I said, tomorrow we'll have a video up showing off the new van, which is amazing. And every time I drive, it's currently parked at my house. Every time I drive home, I'm like, that's our van.
I still haven't seen it in person. I've only seen pictures.
You could drive by and look at it.
I'm lazy.
It's literally like 30 seconds out of your way.
It is. It's on my way home.
I'm also doing a video talking about the Gamma Trade Show, showing off a lot of the new stuff from there from last week, and the American Game and Puzzle. The American Game and Puzzle International. That can't be right. Can't have American and International.
AGPI.
Anyway, it's the Association of Games and Puzzles International. Something like that. AGPI. I'll be talking about that. We're also reviewing Hooky. You definitely want to watch that review. Yawning Portal. Read the name. Corral. Inside Job. Oh, me and Chris take it. The big one is Scarface 1920. So lots of different games going up this week. Also, we're putting up our different replays if you want to watch just the one game from the Spring Spectacular. And then this Thursday at 2 p.m., instead of doing a top 10 list, we're going to be playing party games with y'all, like we did during the Spring Spectacular. So come on in, play some party games with us, and watch our cleverness.
And pass the party food.
Or lack there. That's true. That is where that would be allowed. In fact, I feel like Chris is going to try to remember to say it now when we get there. So,
Not worth the gag.
Z saying he'd look finally at the Star Wars Outer Rim expansion. I know people have been asking for that one. We're also taking a look at the best-selling board games from March. So, March 2023. So, lots of cool things coming up. Let's keep moving.
What is up? My name is Matthew McCack, and this is Smashing Buttons and Slamming Cards. This is a segment where I talk about a video game I love, and I connect it to a board game I love. And this week, I am continuing on with my top 1 series for my number 1 board game for a specific video game genre. Now, the genre I am talking about this week is FPS games. That stands for first-person shooter type games. I'm not usually a huge fan of these types of games, but there are some that I do really like Overwatch and stuff. I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for that one. But these are for, people like Call of Duty, CSGO, all those things. But anyway, my number 1 board game for this genre is Project Elite. Now, Project Elite is a cooperative style game where you are going up against, you get different guns and everything, and you have a different person with their own special ability, and it is fast. It is going, it's a real-time strategy game where you're rolling dice, trying to get your abilities off to fight off these waves of aliens that are coming out. And there's, I believe, different scenarios. I only got to play the game once, unfortunately, but I loved it, and I'm hoping that I could get the game. But anyway, that was such a fun game, and I think that this is a really good representation of FPS video games. So if you know somebody who likes FPS video games, they might really like Project Elite, because it's essentially that. And with these FPS games, you're going fast, right? It's a lot of you're seeing things really quickly, you're trying to react very quickly. Same thing in Project Elite, which is just awesome game. Anyway, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. If you like, you can check out mine and my brother's channel called Room 51. I'll catch you next time.
Hey everyone, today on the Plastic Canvas we're turning the Void Warden from Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion from this into this in just 2 minutes. Hey everyone, Matt here from the Plastic Canvas and welcome to today's episode of 2 Minute Mini, and today we're painting the Void Warden from Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. So the main thing I want to talk about in this video is the painting experience when working on a mini, where most of the interest comes from the very small details. So here's the artwork of the Void Warden, and as soon as I saw this, I just kind of went, ugh. Now don't get me wrong, I absolutely love her artwork. She has a very cool look about her, and I love the colours. The reason I had that reaction was because of how many small and fine details there are. You can see all the line work in the material, and then all of the little gems and things like that. Now in a 2D artwork like this, that's fine because the details are so crisp, but when you shrink all of those details down to the size of a mini like this, they either become so small that you effectively can't actually see them anymore, or they just become really difficult to paint. So one challenge I find with painting a mini like this is working out which tiny details are worth spending the time painting and trying to make look good, and which are better to just paint straight over and pretend like they're not even there. The other thing I find with minis like this is that because most of the interest comes from these really small details which typically don't get painted until the end, I spend about 80% of the time just not really loving how the mini is looking because that interest isn't there yet. But it's then really cool to get onto those smaller details because the mini really quickly comes to life and ties everything together, and that's exactly what happened here, and I was really happy with how she came up. In the comments below, I'd love to hear whether you enjoy painting minis with small details or not, and if you'd like to see the full version of this video where I go into all of this in more detail, then just head over to my channel, The Plastic Canvas, and I hope you enjoy your breakfast.
Questions like the guy at the bottom. Hey! It's so weird. Well, someone said, can you guys talk about Pulsar 2849? I literally did a review on it. You can go watch the review. We're not going to talk about it now because we're taking a look at a different shelf in the Dice Tower Library, and it's this shelf.
Does it have Pulsar?
Okay, we're at shelf 21C. We have Barbarians, The Invasion, which is actually a very good, hefty Euro-style game with a little bit of combat in it, but it looks way... which is kind of the theme here of this first part of the shelf. Miss Thea and Ikeon are the same thing. They're nice hybrids. So all three of these, I think, appeal to the same people. I don't see them getting played much at conventions, but they have some really cool miniatures and stuff, but they're also very good Euro games. Tang Garden, which I think is way overproduced, but a lot of people really enjoy this mishmash of Carcassonne and a bunch of other games. Then we have the two Santorinis. This is the normal Santorini and then Santorini New York, which did not take off as well as I thought, but of course very popular abstract strategy games. And you'll see when we get to the other shelves, this is the abstract strategy section. Brew and Whatnot Cabinet, both simple games. Panasar's very vicious, in-your-face game Brew, but fun. Whatnot Cabinet, kind of fill up a cabinet with different things, scoring points. Monolith, a 3D abstract game from Simon. Consumption, a game from Colossal a lot of people don't talk about, but a good game about eating food. Sanctum, which is essentially Diablo the game. And Yggdrasil Chronicles, a cooperative game, a remake of an older one, but quite a bit different. I have not yet played that one. And that is shelf 21C. That's kind of a weird shelf, a mix of stuff on there.
Yeah.
I'd have a hard time picking my favorite. Like, I really like Santorini. I like most of Sanctum. But no, I mean, Sanctum is an amazing game, except the final boss fight isn't as interesting.
Isn't that a shame? There's a not on the shelf, but what is that anime? Cowboy Bebop, the deck building game, is like really good. And then when you get to the final boss, it kind of shifts the game a little bit too much. And it's an okay ending, but it's like a little bit of a whimper compared to just the rest of the journey is so good.
And the third one I might pick from that shelf is Barbarians. I really like it.
I haven't even heard of Barbarians.
So the cool thing about Barbarians is there's this 3-ring action selection wheel that kind of swings a little bit. And you will take an action on one of the rings. It's been a while since I remember if it's on the bottom or the top. And depending on how the rings are lined up, you might get some extra bonus moves, actions as you go up. Which does lead to some analysis paralysis because you sit there and go, I have a card that lets me shift this one here, then I can take these 3 actions, which is But it's cool, and the actions are move around the board, and there's fighting, but it's more like I moved in this area and you're out of it now, or I took over this area. But it's mostly about collecting cards and sets and things. I'm still picking Santorini. Santorini, solid game, and that's the OG Santorini. I like New York, but the OG Santorini with God powers. I'm amazed at the number of people who play without God powers. I can't imagine. I would not. I'd give it a 6 without
I thought that
God
would be the
powers.
point of it, was the God powers.
It is.
That's what would make it fun. Monolith would definitely be my pick. I've played Brew, I've played Santorini. Chris claims I've played Whatnot Cabinet. But yeah, I really liked Monolith. I thought that was a fun 4D kind of figuring out what sides you want to score and stuff. That was really interesting.
Are you counting time as the fourth dimension? Because then all games are 4D. I'm also picking Monolith. Brew is
No,
Brew's
not if
really
it's just
neat.
color forms. There's a possibility of a 2D game.
Oh, yeah, Blocus and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the third dimension is time.
Third dimension.
Monolith is my pick. I really like it. Spatial puzzle. It's almost like a greatest hits of a few different Phil Walker Hardy mechanisms and stuff.
Yeah.
Brew's a little bit too mean, but otherwise very fun. But Monolith's my pick.
And that's what's on the shelf.
Minasan ohayou gozaimasu. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Board Game Dojo, the podcast and YouTube channel from Tokyo, Japan. Hisashiburi, it's been a while, but I'm so excited to come to you today because I've seen on Instagram and Twitter that a lot of you are coming to Tokyo for the first time to come to the game market. So I just want to share a couple of tips that I have for you. The first thing to note is that it is the Tokyo Game Market. There is no place to play. It is simply a game market to come, buy, and leave. So the first thing to know about is the reservation system. Now, if you go onto the game page on the game market, there's going to be somewhere that says reservation possible or reservation impossible. Don't think of it as a reservation, think of it as a hold. Basically, you just have to put your name, phone number, and how many copies of the game you want, and they will hold it for you, which is really important because they have a finite amount of copies they'll sell on Saturday and a finite amount they'll sell on Sunday. Even if there is a 50% chance that you want this game, I recommend going through with the reservation system, because if you want it, great. It means that even if you get held up at the entrance, you're going to be fine. But if you don't want it, that's okay, because at 2 or 3 o'clock, which is what you usually have to pick it up by, if you don't come and pick it up, they just put it back into the regular stock. No harm, no foul. So I recommend doing it if you at all think you might want the game. The second thing to know, and this is a pro tip, is that if you want to play these games, which you probably do since you just bought them, board game cafes are really difficult to reserve, so I recommend doing it ahead of time. Weekends are already difficult, but the game market weekend is next to impossible. So I would look up something like Jelly Jelly Cafe that allows you to make reservations quite a bit ahead of time and make those reservations. You can always cancel for no charge. Now that's all the time that I have for you today, but if you want to learn more about tips of board game shopping in Japan, including what stores to go to and which to altogether avoid, we have a whole video about it on our channel that I recommend going to. It's one of our better videos. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. Ja ne!
Today we're taking a look at the 3rd season of Mandalorian. Spoiler alert, there might be some minor spoilers. We're not going to spoil the whole season, but it's kind of hard to talk about something without giving some spoilers. Also,
spoilers for Book of Boba Fett. Grogu's back.
That's true. Spoilers for Book of Boba Fett. I was just reading an interview with
Jon Favreau?
Tamara Morrison.
Where he was like, kind of bummed that the Mandalorian hijacked my show, but that's not my call. And the writers was like, the writers also made Boba Fett look like a loser in half that. I would be more upset about that.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that this show has taught us, the 3rd season of Mandalorian, I'm like, yeah, Boba Fett sucks. I'm sorry. The Mandalorian's awesome. And the 3rd season of Mandalorian should have been called The Mandalorians, because it's about all of them.
Featuring a short jaunt on Coruscant.
Well, yeah, I'll get to that in a second. But
yeah, that's a very Book of Boba Fett thing to do, though. Have some
true.
random side story.
Yeah.
Like, let's fill in the gaps of something so we don't have to make another TV show.
So to me, that's a huge negative. It was a very interesting story. They did a side note on one episode where it was 90% of the episode of a character who was in season 1 from Mandalorian. I think just season 1. I don't remember. And they did something with him, and another minor character who could have just been a radio No, I mean, his character didn't do anything. They were there to say, here's who the main bad guy is, just in case you couldn't guess that. Spoiler, it's the same main bad guy that's been in all the seasons. Okay? But while that was interesting, it felt like a scene from Andor, and it would have worked in Andor, right? That whole section?
So rumor has it, I don't know, I guess rumor has it, right, that the Rangers of the New Republic show was canceled and was not going to come to light, and therefore there's a little bit of stuff kind of shoved into the season, right? When the Rangers, the X-Wing pilot, the Coruscant stuff, it feels like there's a few little side things that were like, we kind of need this, so it fits now. It's Mandalorian Season 3.
So would you rather it be a standalone, like, hey, this is a mini-series of 1 or 2 episodes you have to watch to understand all the Mandalorian stuff?
I'm not even a big fan of, if someone wants to watch The Mandalorian, you have to watch some of the episodes of Boba Fett. You have to.
It's absurd.
Yeah.
I don't get that. I wish Disney would stop messing around like that. I don't mind it. They want to make the shared universe. That's fine. I don't mind characters, cameo. We'll get to that in a second. But showing up from one episode into another episode. I know that there's a lot of stuff from Rebels. I don't know any of the backstory of what's the other main character of Mandalorian Season 3. I always forget her name.
Bo-Katan.
I want to say Starbuck, but yes, Bo-Katan.
Starbuck-Katan.
My daughter knows a lot about her backstory and character. I didn't. We both enjoyed the show equally in that regard. I knew nothing. I was like, this is this. They mentioned some of it, but apparently in Rebels or whatever, there's a much bigger backstory.
Yeah, Chris has filled me in on a lot of that stuff.
And I find that satisfying that you can watch it and enjoy the season with or without that knowledge. I think that's the part of this season that they did very well.
Yeah, so I had 2 problems with. One was that cameo and Coruscant in general. I don't. The Return of the Jedi just makes me sadder every time I watch it now, which was my favorite movie of all Star Wars. And I'm like, I don't know why they did anything, because the New Republic sucks. Like, all these episodes keep going. It's like, hey, the New Republic sucks. It's basically, it's almost as bad as the Empire. I mean, it's not that they're. Anyway, it's inept. And I get that things like that happen, but they should be showing it to be at least a little bit better.
Yes.
The other problem I had with this season was the cameos. I don't mind cameos necessarily, but there were some jarring cameos for me. For example, Jack Black showed up one time, and I couldn't get over that's Jack Black. That's Jack Black. And in another episode, or the same episode you pick, there was a cameo of someone who's not an A-lister or could be an A-lister. And as soon as I saw them, I said, bad guy. Because economy of characters. They're not putting someone that important in a small position. Impossible.
Yeah.
It's SVU rules. If you're watching Law and Order SVU and you see someone who's pretty well known, they the murderer.
Sure.
That's fair. I've seen other shows that do the same
But the
thing.
Jack Black one in particular really pulled me out. It was like Bill Murray showing up in
Quantumania.
Ant-Man and Quantumania.
Oh my gosh, it's so
Same thing.
weird. Yeah, you're like, Bill Murray. Bill Murray!
And Jack Black was a little more subdued than that. But he wasn't. It didn't even look like he was wearing a lot of makeup. It was Jack Black. you know?
Yes, yeah.
In Force Awakens Episode 7, like Simon Pegg is in there, but you wouldn't guess it because he plays like weird alienoid kind of guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. I don't mind that. Or, again, I don't even mind. Samuel Jackson was distracting a little bit in the new ones. These are the minor problems I had. Overall, though, I love this season.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Oh, the action sequences, it starts off with a really humdinger of a season. Although I will say, I would never be a Mandalorian. Because I'd be like, you should move. The planet they were on seems to suck. The planet they moved to seems to suck. And they don't seem to notice that. Because this is not a spoiler, because it happens. They're like doing some ritual at the beginning of the one, and a gigantic alligator comes out, some massive thing, and attacks them. Got it. Later on in episode 3 or 4, they're still hanging out in that shallow water. And I was like, why would you do that?
Yes.
Yes.
Also, why didn't they just run in the cave?
And then like different monsters show up, and you're like, oh,
But
wait,
also
so like
they're-
the water and the sky sucks here. Got it.
But I
Everything
do
sucks.
love Star Wars monsters. And I like the fact that this episode made the Mandalorians like you would never want to mess with them, ever. Especially the last 2 episodes. Mandalorians fight like all get out. They're awesome.
I mean, fighting is their religion, right?
Yeah,
That's their whole...
but again, comparing to Boba Fett, they're like, Boba Fett's one of the greatest fighters ever. And you're like, are you sure? Because he gets beat up a lot. Always. Here they're like, the Mandalorians are amazing. You watch them fight the bad guys, you're like, they are amazing. Especially the final fight sequence, I was very, very gratified. And something that my kids were yelling, why hasn't this happened the whole season? Finally happened. And that was good to see.
So Chris had watched a some sort of interview with Jon Favreau about Baby Grogu being with... So Baby Grogu was with Luke Skywalker for a couple years. Because all of a sudden in this season...
It was a couple years?
2 years
2 years. So
is
all
what
of a
Favreau
sudden,
said.
this season, Baby Grogu seems so much more capable. He's no longer Baby Grogu. He's just Grogu. He can do flips. He can do a little bit of fighting. He doesn't pass out every single time he uses the Force. So he still looks like a baby. He still looks young, but he has a little bit more of a personality.
I think
a little
he was
bit more
50 when they found him.
Yeah, but I assume he was in stasis or something. Or he just has so much trauma that he's reverted.
They're never going to explain it, and that's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
They did something with Baby Grogu this year that is one of my favorite things they've ever done.
Yes. Yes.
No.
That was amazing. And like I said, the final fight sequence was really good.
I think just the character development across these seasons I really enjoyed, especially the deciding or like the struggles that they have with their religion and their culture and trying to figure out how that fits in each one of the characters' lives as well as a group, a community. I just really enjoy that.
I think it's neat, like I said, that if you've watched Clone Wars and everything and you know all of this like very big storied history of Mandalorian and struggles and whatnot, this is a very satisfying thing. But even if you don't know that, you know, seeing what the goal is here, the overarching, you know, the thing that they set up from season 1 with this whole idea of the Darksaber. People that are in the know were like, it's the Darksaber, you know what that means? And people like me that hadn't watched it at that point, I was like, that's a cool sword, you know, and then they treat it as a pretty awesome sword throughout the series. And so the season still pays off a lot of those things that they set up internally as well as kind of externally. With
it cannot be 2 years. Because in Book of Boba Fett, it's like he goes back and visits the Hammer Lady, the armorer. Feels like right away. I think it can't be 2 years. They added that in later. No way.
That feels like a failing of Book of Boba Fett more than anything because it feels like he's gone for like the weekend. You know what I mean? He's like,
I agree.
Like Luke was like, too hard, done.
And someone points out Grogu's about to get his lightsaber, right? It's the choose thing. And like getting a lightsaber is not a small step of the Jedi training. This is all stuff extrapolated from other sources. I'm like, that makes sense. You wouldn't be like, hey kid, I barely know you. Oh, you have a lot of trauma? How about a sword that can pierce anything?
Anyway, I still really enjoyed it, and I enjoy that it's not bingeable. I mean, I guess you can binge it when it's done. It's like must-see TV for me and my family. Each week, we sat down and watched it.
You like the episodic thing.
Yeah, and I'm also annoyed that it's over. Because there's not many shows you can watch with the whole family. There's almost none.
Mm-hmm.
That's
and
true.
that was one of the few. My whole family likes it.
This last Wednesday, Wendy and I were like, what are we doing tonight? Why does it feel empty and hollow?
There's no Mandalorian.
Thanks a lot, Mandalorian. Oh, Disney, stop making dumb shows. Make more stuff like this. Anyway, I'd give this an 8.5. I really enjoyed this season.
I concur. I'll stick with that number 2.
Yeah, that would be right there. There's a few weak
minor
spots.
things, but overall, very satisfying.
Season 1's a high benchmark. This is great still.
Hello, Proti here, your Romanian content creator, and today I will continue my series where I will talk about a specific part of a game, and today we will take a look at Coup. Coup is a small card game, bluffing and deduction game, so to say. You have 2 cards in front of you, and they have special abilities, but when it's your turn you can announce whatever ability is present in the game, and the other player can say that you're lying, that you don't have one of those cards with the ability that you mentioned in front of you, or they can let it go, don't say anything, and you can make that ability even though maybe you don't even have it in that person that has that ability in front of you. So really interesting here to read what the table is doing. It's purely, just like I said, a bluffing and deduction game. It's not taking long. It's interesting, and of course, the main element of the game are the cards. And one card that I really like, or a person with an ability that I really like, is the ambassador. In the game, the ambassador gives you the possibility to change the cards that you. So you have two cards in front of you, face down, and when you play the ambassador, it cannot be blocked. But somebody, if they are saying you don't have the ambassador, you cannot do the ability, then you can check to see if it's right or not. But the point is, the ambassador is really nice because you draw two more cards from the deck, and you can choose from the four which two you want to keep in front of you. So really interesting. And beside that, the ambassador can block the if somebody is doing the steal ability, so to say. But really interesting here, the flexibility that you have with the ambassador. Of course, you can announce that you have the ambassador and make the ability even if you don't have it, and hope that nobody's telling you that you don't have the ambassador. But just like I said, interesting coup. It's an interesting bluffing game. Goes fast, and the ambassador is a nice card that I wanted to discuss about today. So have a nice breakfast.
And that's it, folks, for this week. Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Join us in 19 minutes for Z playing Takinoko. And then I'll be back at noon with Q&A. Until then, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Chris Yee.
Have fun with the Mandalorians.
This is the way.